Hey, thanks for joining us on this webinar today. My name is Joe Tracy. I am the program director with the Way Out West Coalition and Youth for Youth. And today we're going to talk about how people, including our youth, are obtaining illicit drugs via social media. Here's what we know. With the growth of social media and the proliferation of smartphones, a dangerous and deadly new drug threat has emerged. Criminal drug networks are abusing social media to expand their reach, create new markets, and target new clientele. And this includes selling deadly counterfeit pills that contain fentanyl and other substances, often to unsuspecting teenagers, young adults, and older Americans. They think they're buying the real thing. No longer confined to the street corners and the dark web, criminal drug networks are now in every home and school in America because of the internet apps on our smartphones. Internet drug trafficking is happening everywhere, and due to their ubiquity, convenience, and lack of regulation, social media platforms have become a major venue for drug distribution. Where once a team may have had to seek out a street-level dealer, maybe hassle their friends, or learn how to navigate the dark web to access illicit drugs, young people can now locate a dealer using their smartphones with the same relative ease as ordering food or calling for a rideshare service. The DEA has directly connected social media drug sales to overdose deaths, and they found drug trafficking on the internet nationwide. It doesn't matter if you're in an urban area, suburban area, or a rural community. See, while the data is on the prevalence of drug sales on social media is still hard to come by, it is actually estimated by the National Crime Prevention Council that 80% of teens and young adult fentanyl poisoning deaths can now be traced to some sort of social media contact. Drug dealers using social media are the same people you and I were educated about and were used to. The only difference is they've moved off the street corners and are now on the internet. This means that cartel members are actively seeking individuals to push their drugs. Those drug runners are actively seeking new buyers, our youth, via social media apps like Snapchat, Instagram, and many others. There is no longer a need to know somebody who knows how to get the substance you're looking for. It's all right here on your phone. Social media makes shopping easier. It's a one-stop shop. Drug traffickers have turned smartphones and other smart devices into a storefront where they market, sell, buy, and deliver illicit drugs, including fake prescription pills laced with fentanyl. Using social media and other online platforms means drug traffickers can advertise their product to large global audiences. Various conventional social media platforms are being used as local marketplaces, and inappropriate content is widely accessible to our children and adolescents. The intersection between social media and drug use is a double whammy, where consumption of illegal substances is normalized and glamorized in high-definition pictures and videos. In just a matter of a few easy steps, deadly drugs can be purchased and delivered directly to you anywhere, anytime. Smartphones are the most commonly used devices to access social media and other online content. However, the same exposure and dangers apply to gaming systems, tablets, laptops, desktop computers. It's all the same. If it has an internet connection, it has access. All right, now let's look at how this all works. Drug traffickers advertise on social media platforms like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, X, YouTube. These advertisements are in disappearing 24-hour stories and in posts, which are promptly posted and removed. Posts and stories are often accompanied by a known code word or an emoji that is used to market and sell illicit drugs via social media. It is not uncommon for today's teen to have a complete conversation via emojis. It makes it easy to dupe your parents and keep the true meaning of their conversations hidden. Here are some of those current emojis that dealers and buyers are using to communicate about various illegal substances. These code words and emojis are designed to evade detection by law enforcement and the preset algorithms used by social media platforms. Make sure you take a screenshot of this. That way you have it and you can access it later. All right, so how do they connect once they advertise? So prospective buyers will contact drug dealers on social media apps in response to their advertisements or their post, either directly by messaging them or commenting on the post. Once contact is made, the drug traffickers and the potential buyers will often switch to an encrypted communication app such as WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram. Drug traffickers typically switch to these encrypted communication apps to arrange the actual deals themselves with the buyers. The increased availability of illicit drugs on the internet, the exploitation by criminal groups of online platforms, including social media, and the increased risk of overdose deaths due to the online presence of fentanyl and other synthetic opioids are some of the key challenges that we're facing with drug control in the internet era. After the deal is made, drug traffickers request payment using one-click apps like Venmo, Zelle, or Cash App. See, this is that one-stop shop. You don't have to leave your house, and you can order what you want, have it set up, pay for it, and have it delivered, all without leaving your house. Let's watch this short video about the direct link between drug overdose and social media.
A powerful painkiller called fentanyl is responsible for one of the deadliest drug crises in American history, believed to be the leading cause of death for Americans 18 to 45. Think about that. It kills people who don't even know that they're taking it. That's what's so scary. More than 150 people per day in these United States die from synthetic opioid overdoses, and it takes only a tiny, tiny amount to kill someone. CBS Evening News anchor and managing editor Nora O'Donnell met a family touched by this crisis, and they are now working to keep other young people safe.
Landon Houseman was a popular basketball star, and at 16 years old, he took a fentanyl-laced Percocet pill and died.
Sometimes with fentanyl, you don't get a second chance.
Beautiful, beautiful son.
Sadly, Landon's story is all too common. Last year, more than 100,000 Americans died from an overdose, the majority from fentanyl, a nearly invisible poison.
Did Landon have a sense that he could be buying a pill that would be laced with fentanyl?
I don't think he even recognized that that was going to be a possibility.
In January, the Maryland high school sophomore bought pills from a dealer through social media.
No longer are we talking about meeting on the street and making that connection. The dealer is in your kid's pocket, along with the phone.
Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco oversees the Drug Enforcement Administration and says this is the DEA's top priority.
There were more deaths from fentanyl last year than from the wars in Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq combined. Why isn't this a national security crisis?
I think it is, Nora. I think it's a national security issue. I think it's a public safety issue. I think it's a public health issue. This drug is man-made. It's mass-produced. It's done largely in illicit labs in Mexico, where the drug cartels are manufacturing from chemicals, precursor chemicals that come from companies we believe largely from China. They're pressing these pills, and they're making them look like legitimate prescription drugs. Things like Percocet or Adderall or Xanax, but they're not.
Deaths among teens have tripled. And in the last year, the DEA says it is investigating more than 120 cases that involve social media. They even issued a warning of emoji code language dealers use to target young buyers.
These are unsuspecting users thinking they're getting one thing and they're getting something else in the form of fentanyl. So that's not actually an overdose, Nora. That's a poisoning.
Why isn't there a crackdown by the Justice Department on these social media companies?
We're talking to the social media companies, and frankly, we're asking them to do more. They need to do more. They need to be policing their platforms to detect those drug dealers that are on those platforms and pushing it out to kids. So they need to use, quite frankly, the same tools and the technology that allows them to exquisitely serve up those ads for all sorts of things that we're buying online, and identify those drug dealers and getting them off.
The dealer who sold the fake Percocets to Landon is facing federal charges. But for Houseman, just one arrest isn't enough.
What does justice look like to you?
I can't go back and change what happened. But what I can do is try to do everything possible so maybe this doesn't happen to someone else.
For CBS Mornings, I'm Nora O'Donnell in Washington.
I really do applaud that father for speaking up when he's in so much pain. But this is scary. Your kids think they're ordering one thing, and then they get something else that's deadly.
Yeah.
I like how Lisa described it. Not an overdose, it's a poison.
It's a poison. Yeah. And then the idea that the drug dealer is not somebody at the front door or at the playground, but in your kid's pocket,
right in
your
their
kid's
phone.
Bedroom.
That is when, as a parent, you don't know.
Yeah.
So that's why we have to check in on our kids.
That's why I'm a big proponent of parental snooping.
There you go. There's nothing wrong with that.
I plead guilty.
There's nothing wrong
But those
with that.
days are over. Those are over for me.
So that was a touching video there, and counterfeit pills look alike to pills that are real pharmaceuticals, as we heard about in that story there. Counterfeit pills are not provided through a doctor or a pharmacy, but rather through the production on the streets or by cartels and sold by drug dealers. So producing the pills gives the maker the ability to add anything they want to that pill, such as fentanyl, and call it by whatever that prescription looks like, such as Oxycontin, Percocet, Vicodin, Xanax. Now, with that being said, purchasing substances from a create stranger opens up a new risk to our youth. Teens are often unaware of the contents of the substances they are purchasing, and that's why we're hearing it called poisoning. So in recent news stories, it has been reported that teens who overdose on substances purchased from another Snapchat user they thought were buying items such as Percocet. And through the investigation process, it is proven time and time again that the product that they overdosed on contained a deadly dose of fentanyl. Professionals in the teen diversion field have also reported that more and more they're seeing teens providing a urinalysis that comes up positive for fentanyl, and they respond that they didn't know what fentanyl was or that they've even taken that substance before. Now, are your kids on social media? The answer is most likely yes. Surveys suggest that over 93% of teens use social media, which is approximately 37 million teenagers in the USA alone. YouTube continues to dominate as the top platform among teens, followed by TikTok, Snapchat, and Instagram. Nearly 1 in 5 teens say that they are on YouTube or TikTok almost constantly.
And her husband are popular TV doctor and her husband are speaking out about the heartbreaking loss of their young son.
A desire to push in so many plans that won't.
All right, now let's take a look at a real example of how online drug sales via social media impacted this family. OWN Network's Dr. Laura Berman discovered her 16-year-old son had overdosed in his bedroom while under quarantine orders during the COVID-19 pandemic. Through the investigation, a friend of the teen came forward to police showing a screenshot sent by Sammy of the drug dealer's menu on Snapchat. Police explained that this is happening everywhere and it's extremely hard to track the buyers down. Snapchat aids the law enforcement by way of deleting the account right away, but not identifying the owner of the account.
I'm Ivan, and I'm a chess player. What I love
This popular TV doctor and her husband are speaking out about the heartbreaking loss of their young son. They spoke with Amber Cogliano.
This famous relationship expert is living every parent's worst nightmare after losing her teen son to an accidental drug overdose.
It's the worst thing that could ever possibly happen.
Dr. Laura Berman has been a TV personality for more than a decade and hosts In the Bedroom on Oprah Winfrey's network. The mother of 3 and her husband Samuel Chapman say their 16-year-old son Sammy died after taking Xanax or possibly Percocet laced with fentanyl.
I was on my way up to his room when I found him because he had asked me to help him with an internship he wanted to do over the summer, and I was going up to discuss it with him when I found him.
They say Sammy was a straight A student getting ready for college, and it was a case of experimentation gone bad.
I think boredom and tons of hormones and a feeling of immortality that all teenagers share, and a desire to push the limits and experiment a little bit, was what he was trying to do.
The heartbroken family believes their son purchased the drugs from someone he met on the social media app Snapchat, which allows private messages to be deleted immediately after reading them, which could make it difficult to find out what really happened.
We spoke to his best friend who was in the know and actually had a screen grab from the menu that the dealer had put out on Snapchat for the kids.
Snapchat, which boasts over 200 million daily users, says the company is heartbroken by his passing and is committed to working together with law enforcement because it has a zero tolerance for using Snapchat to buy or sell illegal drugs. Despite her grief, Dr. Berman says she is choosing to speak out in hopes their tragedy can save other children.
All I can hope is that parents can use our son as a teachable moment. He had so many dreams and so many plans that won't be fulfilled.
And during the pandemic, 81,000 people died of overdoses in just 12 months, the highest number ever recorded.
Now, before we move on there, that said 81,000 died during the pandemic. As things have progressed, in fact, the 12 months prior to April 2023, we saw over 111,000 individuals lose their life to an overdose in America. Over 70% of that was from fentanyl. So that's how much this has grown and how much of an impact it is. The number one killer of adults 18 to 45. So it's surpassed cancer, car accidents, everything. It is the number one killer. Now, the great news is we have actually seen that from that high of 111,000 individuals that died from an overdose, we've seen that number go down for 2 years consecutively now. And that's actually the first time since the 70s that we've seen overdose deaths go down. And to put it in perspective, when Nixon declared the war on drugs, there was 6,671 overdose deaths that year. I believe it was 1974. So we've come a long way. All right, so what can you do? So first and foremost, go easy on yourself. If you didn't know this was happening, it's part of being a parent. We need to find ways to educate ourselves, and we're not always going to know everything. But remain honest with yourself. Most caregivers don't know to what extent social media may have on their youth's lives. So keep up on the trends. You can do this by talking to the youth in your life. Also, you can create an account and follow the groups that they're following. Talk to them about what you've seen. Have an open and honest conversation with your youth and have them often. So if you're seeing the same things online, you can talk about it a little bit, but be honest with them about what you're doing. This will help them trust you and not feel as though you're being spied on. So when talking to your youth, avoid yes or no questions. I mean, how many times have we asked, how was your day? Good. Yes. No. Try to ask more specific questions on topics that interest both you and your teen. Hey, I saw your post on stories the other day. Hey, that looked awesome. Or, maybe tell me about that pep rally at school yesterday. What are the cliques like in your school? Just ask open-ended questions. And a simple, non-threatening question is an easy way to promote the importance of that conversation. So you can also monitor your child's social media activity, and that's very important. So, know who they're talking to online. And I know my kids, they get upset whenever I ask them, who you playing that game with? And, they tell me, but you can see that they're like, why do you want to know? And, my job as a parent is to make sure that my kids do adolescence well and become successful adults. So knowing who they're talking to. Also, know what the abbreviations and the emojis mean. Okay. Know what's the different things are, the lingo. Our website has some of that on there. And are these people that they know in person or just virtually? And then if you don't know what it means, Ask what things mean if you don't understand it. A lot of times your kids will tell you. All right, so you heard the menu mentioned before, and I wanted to really show you kind of like what we're talking about here. So know that social media drug dealers are using these platforms to promote their sales, and you want to know what this looks like. So as a parent, you can actually report these if you do come across them. They'll post photos of the money that they're making, the guns they have, and the drugs that they're using or selling. Generally, where there's drugs, there's money and guns too. And notice we talked about emojis earlier. That first one, it has the emojis right in there. The last one has it as well. So I mean, there's different different little things that they're using to represent them. One of the things that parents need to be aware about is there are hundreds of apps that allow youth to hide inappropriate photos behind an innocent-looking calculator app. These private photo calculator apps are popular because they help youth hide their behavior from their parents and teachers and under the disguise of a useful tool. I mean, I'm proud of my kids if they have a calculator as an app, right? You know, they're doing schoolwork. These apps are actually often hiding sexting photos or other inappropriate images or videos, and many of these apps offer a sharing option to text or email from the app itself. Calculator secrecy apps are still extremely popular despite being removed from the Apple and Google Play Store for various reasons. Many of the apps will report any attempts to try to access the app. So secretly trying to access your child's vault won't be a secret very long. The icons of the Calculator Vault app also often look similar to the actual calculator apps when they are open, and the adults may not know what the full extent of the app is until they research it for themselves. When you open an app, it looks just like a regular calculator. To access the secret photos in the calculator vault, you often need to type in a secret code. And many of the apps will ask permission to use the phone's cameras to take pictures directly in the app or to access photos on the phone to hide them from the device's photo folder. So this is very important information for parents to know. And you know, it's one of those reasons you want to make sure you're checking up on your child and what they're downloading, and you know, making sure they're getting permission before they download additional apps. So what are some internet safety basics? Turn off GPS capabilities. That way, like especially like with Snapchat, people can't see where you're posting from, you know, and where. Make sure there's no identifiable things in the background when they take pictures. Adjust privacy settings and locations on their social media apps to off. Okay. You can create private profiles. You can create public profiles. Make sure you're turning it off, and make sure you're having a conversation of not adding or contacting people that you don't know. Don't give out any personal information such as, you know, their last names or family members' names, school information, addresses. And then, you know, it's never a good idea to link up with strangers that you meet online. Make sure we're empowering our youth and explain that they should notify someone they trust if they feel threatened or unsafe. This doesn't have to be the parent. It could be a close family member, a friend, a teacher, a school resource officer, a counselor. The list goes on and on. Show them that they have the ability to anonymously report any application or site that they see as inappropriate, illegal, or just unsafe. All right, so I'm going to leave this up here, and you're more than welcome to take a screenshot of it, but these are signs of substance misuse. So prolonged use can lead to physical changes such as extreme weight loss or gain, sores on the face, sweating, poor hygiene, track marks. I mean, the list goes on and on. An individual under the influence of a substance will have a change in mood or personality as well many times. They can exhibit extreme energy or be less motivated. They can be silent or hostile. Recognizing the change will allow you to determine the potential substance they are using. With our kids, a lot of times we know how they're supposed to be acting. Okay, they have a personality that they've developed over 15 years that we know when something's not right. Don't just push it to the side and say, oh, it's just, just going through some stuff. Maybe they are, but also maybe they need help. And constantly remind your youth that you have a strong support system at home. Actively listen to their thoughts and comments and concerns. Understand that the resources available to you and your youth, they're available through the Governor Office of Youth, Faith, and Family, the Arizona HIDA, the DEA. There's parent talk kits that have tips on how to have these conversations with your youth. And there's different games that can be played even for kids as young as preschool. Develop a parent and child contract outlining the rules and expectations regarding their cell phone use. Okay, that's a real thing. If you're a parent paying for the phone, you are allowed to dictate what they're allowed to use that for. And then also be prepared. Naloxone is a life-saving medication that can reverse an opioid overdose. This could be heroin, fentanyl, prescription opioids, and when given in time, Narcan, which is the nasal spray form of naloxone, is sprayed into the nose and can be easily administered by anyone. Remember that naloxone only works to reverse an opioid overdose. It can quickly reverse the overdose by blocking the effects of the opioids and restore normal breathing within 2 to 3 minutes if their breathing has slowed down or even stopped. It is safe to have in the home and can be used on children and pets. You can pick up naloxone at any pharmacy. Also, if you contact organizations such as the Way Out West Coalition, we can actually provide it to you at no cost as well. And then make sure, we're changing the perception on how we view things. So implicit bias is a well-studied phenomenon, and the phrase refers to the unconscious attitudes we have towards groups of people, both positive and negative. So every individual deserves to be treated with dignity and respect, regardless of their situation that they're struggling with. One of the ways we can do that is focusing on the stigma and making sure that we're using supportive person first language. Recognize the own biases that we have, and continue our education and personal development so that we're being more supportive for a person that is struggling with a substance use disorder. Here's additional resources. So if you have, please take a screenshot of this. One of the things that I would like to address is make sure you set up a rescue plan with your kid. Okay, this could be in a code word or an emoji that if they're ever in a situation that they don't know how to get out of, they can send that to you, and you can be in contact with them and rescue them. So here's some more youth resources. So make sure you screenshot this as well. The way that the rescue plan would work would be that if they're in a situation, and we know, like, we've been in teenagers before ourselves, it's not always easy to say no to things, especially when you're around friends and you don't want to be that person that says no. If they're ever in a situation like that, they can send you an emoji. And once you get that, you can call them and make an excuse of why they're in trouble. Like for my kids, I tell them that this is the third time this week that they forgot to feed the dog. They're grounded. Where are you at? I'm coming to get you. In return, what they do is they hang up the phone. They may say a few choice words about how big of a blankety blank their dad is, but then they say, I'm getting grounded. They're coming to pick me up right now. That way, your child is out of that situation. They had a way to get out of that situation, and you were the bad guy taking the blame for it, which us as parents will do that all day long. We're keeping our kids safe, and then we can have a conversation about maybe who they're hanging around with and some choices as far as that goes. But I want to thank you guys for joining us. Make sure that you check out all the other webinars that we have going on here. Maybe sure you follow us on social media. Ironic that I asked you to follow me on social media on a social media presentation. But there's my contact information. If you would like us to come out and do a presentation for your organization, your business, your school, whatever it is, please reach out to me and we'll get that set up and we'll make it happen. We'll bring the energy and it'll be a good time for everybody. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. We'll talk to you later.